Hello everyone, welcome to Sister Business.
Sister Business.
So we have a lot of news. We've had a few weeks of not doing the podcast because we've both had, hectic lives and things have kind of changed in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we thought today we would fill you guys in with everything that's happening. We thought we would we're going to have a little season ender, season finale of Sister Business, because we're going to take a little bit of a break before we do season 2. And we also thought, let's bring on a guest.
Woo!
So we have none other than Connor Carson here today with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, hello, hello.
Connor, have you ever done a podcast?
You know what? I actually haven't. This is my first one.
No one has ever been blessed
Taking a
with
cherry.
Yeah. No one's ever been blessed with your angelic voice before.
What a treat.
No one's ever had the privilege. So Connor is a performer and was in my year at GSA. And you've worked on Royal Caribbean. You've done all sorts of projects. Your next big project is Bring It On, the tour.
Yeah, quite excited about it.
And my next big project is a ship. So we thought it was really fitting because you have done a couple of ships now. You've got loads of experience and loads of stories and just things to share about that industry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tell us about how cruise ships, you found yourself being tested and challenged and doing things that you didn't necessarily train for at drama school.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's interesting because even alongside, obviously, people say, oh, I did this musical on this cruise line or I did this show. But kind of alongside that, a lot of people don't realize that you end up doing a lot of different things on board. Like as part of my contract, I did a jazz set on board weekly, which was great. It was my favorite thing that I did on board. Actually, I used to love it. And it was that was a chance weekly to get to use a handheld mic, which was something that, I mean,
brilliant.
I don't know about other drama schools, but we didn't get trained in using that. That's definitely been an on-the-job thing that I've learned through different things that I've done since graduating, like gigging with vocal groups and stuff, and even like working in bars where you use a mic and sing, just lots of like live music elements like that that we didn't really get trained in. So I would do that every week, which was great, and I loved that. I loved kind of singing jazz as well, like singing that kind of style. It was nice to kind of get a chance to, because my part in Saturday Night Fever at the time wasn't a particularly singy role. So I loved, that kind of opportunity once a week to kind of take that out of my back pocket and just have a play around with that. And we did a murder mystery every Sunday night where we basically got plied with red wine and steaks and scampi, or not scampi, what was it? Gnocchi, not scampi, gnocchi in the Italian restaurant. Yeah, not quite as Italian. But yeah, we basically just have to do a murder mystery for a bunch of guests who'd booked onto this experience, and it was kind of an Italian American gangster mob murder mystery, which was a lot of fun. Made even more fun by the free red wine. But yeah,
can't really grumble at that, can you?
Oh, exactly.
I mean, I feel the same. I go on a ship and I've never used a handheld mic. And the thing is, I think you mentioned it earlier, if you were doing the same track in a show 8 nights a week, on a cruise ship, we literally have like a variety show, a jazz show, all of these different things. So you find yourself singing all of these different styles that in an everyday life you wouldn't necessarily get a chance to explore.
For sure. I think as well, kind of cruise ship audiences are a bit different in what they expect and what they like. I think even one aspect of it is people who go on cruises go on a lot of cruises. Not many people only go on one. These are people who've been on the same ships. Even a lot of people come back to the same ship every year and go to the same places, and they know the cruise director, they know the staff on board, they know what to expect, they know the shows. So yeah, they're almost a tougher audience a lot of the time, because they're also not afraid to tell you that they didn't like it after the show.
Wow.
I don't know if you find that.
That's so true, yeah, because they've literally seen so many different casts doing the same thing. Yeah, it's the same with the cruise line I work for. Everyone just goes every year on the same ship.
Yeah, and everyone kind of they know what they want and they know what they don't want, and yeah,
Yeah, but it's nice because you get the chance to do all these different things. Like, I mean, my cruise ship has different venues. So it's got like the nightclub kind of bar venue, it's got the theatre, it's got the atrium, which has a grand piano. And we as performers have the freedom to just see that the atrium's empty, speak to the cruise director. Oh, can I sing a couple of songs? The pianist is on board. He says it's fine. I'd love to just sing some songs while this little cocktail event. And you can just literally, like, you could go into the nightclub, the band could be playing, they'll see you there and they'll give you the little thumbs up, like, want to sing? Yeah, yeah. And then you're up in the nightclub singing the night away with the band.
I mean, that's great that you guys had that freedom. I
Mm,
guess that's one thing that differs between cruise lines is how readily available situations like that are.
yeah.
I think yes, some are definitely more ad hoc. Oh yeah, just come and do a couple of songs, whereas others are a bit more. There's kind of structure in place that the same thing happens every time.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, I bet you thrived on that at the time.
Loved it. And
I can
it
imagine
gives you
that being
so
right
much
up your street.
confidence. Yeah, because, yeah, literally, when you're at drama school, when you're doing theatre, it's all so heavily rehearsed and heavily directed. Even audition songs, you go over everything to the T and you really plan it all. Whereas when you're in a ship, they would literally like give me an iPad that had a list of music charts and say, pick a song. We've got three more songs that we've planned to do. And the singer literally on the stage would be showing me the iPad going, just pick one. And she'd be singing the song, asking me to pick one. And I'd be like, okay, I'll give Jolene a go. Why not?
Yeah. The thing is that I mean, it kind of builds a different set of skills, doesn't it? It builds adaptability and rapport with an audience, and kind of a lot of things that like you say, you don't necessarily pick up at drama school, or you don't really have the opportunity to pick up, or
Mm,
you're kind of being trained in a different way. I mean, I think a lot of the time at drama school, they kind of talk about things that you do learn on the job, and I guess that is true. Maybe they're not necessarily talking about like the cruise ship industry a lot of the time, but I think yeah, there's a whole kind of world of different elements of the industry that you can't really pick up from drama school. Yeah, you just gotta learn it when you're out there, don't you? When you're out there on your own, you've got
yeah,
no choice.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
even as a professional actor or as a professional performer or singer, I mean, at the minute, especially even over lockdown over the last year or year and a half, how many at-home concerts have there been? How many at-home cabarets or socially distanced cabarets, even whenever restrictions have lifted a little bit, um, like cabarets and performances, even it almost even feels like to me that performers are becoming more celebrity is the wrong word, but kind of the performers
Right.
themselves are becoming more of a marketable product than they
Yeah.
necessarily were before, I think,
Yeah.
in a wider sense. And I think now when these other things like concerts and cabarets and smaller shows outside of full-blown musical productions are more commonplace and are happening more and more, I think it's kind of something that people do need to get better at and kind of get more experience in. I guess working on cruise ships is kind of a good way to do that, really, because in some ways it's a lower pressure environment where you can just allow yourself the freedom to play around a little bit and improvise and try things out one cruise, and if they don't work, the passengers get off, and then the next set of passengers get on, and you can try it again and do better the next time, hopefully, kind of in that sense. So I think it is, yeah, it's definitely something that has a lot of value as an experience to do as a performer outside of just the shows that you do and kind of the contract that you're initially employed for, you know?
So true. So true. I mean, I came off my ship just so confident. And, I think in theatre, well, I guess it all depends on the show, but there's not, like you say, there's much less audience interaction. Whereas on my cruise ship, you're encouraged. get off the stage, go into the audience, involve them. And
They
that's
love
a
it. They
nerve-wracking thing to
live
do.
for it.
They do. They love it. Their face lights up. Unless you
Oh.
pick the wrong person, and then it can be
Yeah,
a disaster. But that's a nerve-wracking thing to do. Like, not only am I singing this song, I'm now going to go down. I'm going to, you've got to just kind of take it in your stride and be like, I'm going to go into the audience and I'm going to get them on their feet. And I found myself coming back to the UK way more capable of looking someone in the eye and just being like, here I am, I'm going to sing to you now.
Yeah, because you're doing it all the time. You're doing it every day. It just becomes part of day-to-day life in a weird way.
Yeah, literally.
It has to become part of your personality, because even on cruise ships, another element of it is that you kind of always have to be switched on everywhere you go when you're in guest areas, because if you're in a show, people will stop you at any point around the ship and say, oh, were you in that show? Like, they'll recognize you, especially the ones who have been passengers for a long time, or as in have come back to the ship multiple times and have seen different casts. They'll always recognize the performers. And even when you walk around the ship, you can kind of tell who the performers are and who they aren't.
Yeah.
Even, I think, around within different cruise lines, you can kind of tell just a lot of the time because of the age. I mean, the demographic of the passengers a lot of the time is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of you almost become like a mini celebrity around the ship, don't you?
Oh.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Well, depending on the time that your show is on the cruise, if you're on the last night for the first of a 7-day cruise, for the first 6 days, no one knows who you are. So you don't get quite as much infamy.
Right. Well, I guess that's another thing that differs between Royal Caribbean and Viking, because with Viking, the same cast as all the shows. So we will perform most nights of a cruise, like pretty much all different shows. So right from the bat, they know who we are. And, it's nice though, because you make connections and you can be like, oh, I've got a show on, I've written my own show that I'm going to put on my next cruise. So I can meet them early on in the cruise and be like, I have my own show later this week. And you can kind of have a rapport already, and it's something interesting. My director used to say to me, because the demographic is, especially with Viking, it's older people. They were like, just imagine you're singing to your parents or your grandparents. And, our grandparents are like our biggest fans ever, aren't they? They're just so supportive. And when you kind of make that connection, you think, actually, yeah, these are someone's parents and these are people's and they're just here because they want to enjoy their night. And if you have a connection with them and you meet them early on and build that relationship, it makes performing for them more and more really special and lovely.
That's a really nice way to look at it, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I bet that kind of makes it easier for you as well, kind of fills you with a bit more confidence.
That's it. Like on weeks, like my goal when I do have my show up is on the weeks when it's going to happen is to really go out there and make those connections, because I think it will make doing the show a lot easier to know there's people out there that are rooting for me.
Yeah, definitely. And you can kind of see it, you can spot them in the audience, and it kind of puts you at ease a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So when you first got your cruise job, what was your very first experience on a cruise?
That was Saturday Night Fever with Royal Caribbean.
Right.
Which was crazy, yeah, because when I got cast, I think it was quite a last minute casting. I think with Royal Caribbean, the castings are quite often a bit hectic. They're all a bit kind of, because they almost, you come in for a casting for one show and you get seen for one and they end up casting you in another. Like, that was actually my experience with Saturday Night Fever, was that I was in for finals for Sky and Mamma Mia, and then didn't hear anything. Then they got back in touch and were like, oh, we want to see you for Kaniki in Greece. Then didn't hear anything. This is like a few days later. And then didn't hear anything for a week and a half, assumed I wasn't going to hear anything from them at all. And then about a week and a half later, I'm on the bus home late at night and I get an email from Royal Caribbean saying, we'd like to offer you the role of Double J in Saturday Night Fever, which is a show that I hadn't even auditioned for. So it's just a bit mad in that respect. And kind of, when I did get cast in that, even by the time I got my visa and stuff, which is a massive thing as well, all of that can take a lot of time. By the time it actually got around to me having all of that sorted, my medical done, ready to go, ready to fly, I ended up getting out there 2 weeks later than everyone else, I think. Or it was either 2 weeks later or no, I think it might have actually been 10 days before our office run that I got there. So everyone else already knew the show. They'd been rehearsing for weeks and I landed in and they had to teach me the entire show in 10 days. and get me show ready. Yeah, so it was a bit of a whirlwind when I got there.
Mm.
But I'd never been to America. I'd never been that side of the world. I never really went on holiday that much growing up. I'd only been on a couple of school trips. So this was kind of, it was a massively exciting thing for me to kind of to do. And even the rehearsal period in Miami as well was just amazing. It was so much fun and just amazing to even get the weekends off and just go and explore. Yeah, it was such an exciting time. It's just funny looking back on it now.
It's weird after a year of lockdown to literally be like, that used to be my life.
Yeah, it's quite a shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you're
But
going back soon, though.
yeah, I'm going back in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
It was
So it's
supposed to be
not as
4
much
weeks.
on the distant skyline as it is for me.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it keeps being moved around for me, and with COVID, things keep changing. I don't even know where I'm going. I'm thinking I need to pack a big jacket, but I also want to take a couple of bikinis, and who knows?
Yeah, gonna pack for every occasion.
Yeah. But you look back on your life and you think, wow, I get paid to sing and travel. Like,
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want that as a performer, as a singer?
and to sing different things, like to come back having been challenged and having, I remember on the ship, the cruise director was like, can anyone do anything that's a different style? And I was like, I've sang I could try opera. And she was like, yeah, let's put opera in one of the shows. And I did, and it went really well and I loved it. And now opera is something that I put it on my CV immediately and was like, yeah, I've tried it. It went well. I studied it a bit further and I feel confident now in saying I can pass off this genre and do this and this. And yeah.
I mean, theatre in itself as a performer a lot of the time is about adaptability, isn't it? And that's kind of another good skill that we've already touched on, really. But yeah, that is the one thing with cruise ships, doing them as a performer, is that they do kind of, they just throw a lot at you a lot of the time. You just kind of have to deal with it in the best way possible, really. But it kind of, yeah, it just, as opposed to just having one show thrown at you, I mean, even quite often you'll have to do several shows. I mean, I didn't even mention that we had a production show on board as well when we did Saturday Night Fever. And when I did Grease, there were 2 production shows on board. So not only are this cast doing their one musical that they actually booked the job to do, they're actually doing these other production shows that involve quite often crazy elements that they wouldn't even have ever expected they'd be doing. On the Liberty of the Seas, which is the ship that I did Saturday Night Fever on, the production show on board, I wasn't actually in. I covered the lead singer in it, but every week whenever that show was on, I didn't actually have to do it, apart from when he was sick. But it was called In the Air, and it was an aerial show. So there were all these crazy aerial tricks, and apart from there were 2 numbers I think in the show. That one was done by this Latin ballroom couple, and that were specifically employed to do that one number, and another was like a really intense, amazing aerial number as well. And that was an aerial couple that were paid to do that. But apart from those, all the aerial tricks within the show were taught in the rehearsal studios in Miami to the cast of dancers, to the dancers that had just been employed as musical theatre dancers to do Saturday Night Fever, the contract, but who never in a million years probably thought that they would end up being here doing aerial, most of them having never done aerial before in their lives. I mean, I was one of the singers and I didn't end up doing that show, but we all had to learn the aerial in the production studio. So I was up there doing it, not very well, but I was learning it.
Clinging on for dear life.
Exactly, yeah.
And I guess, I mean, it depends what your personality is, because if you are someone that loves traveling and you love every day waking up and it being a different day, I know some people are creatures of habit, and that kind of lifestyle is quite scary for them, because you literally do wake up and you're like, right. I mean, there are some days where I would forget the itinerary, and you go and look out of a porthole and you're like, oh, that's where we are today. Oh yeah. Or like you go up on the deck and you're like, oh yeah. Slovenia. That's where we are today.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those things that is kind of either for you or just not. I don't think many people are kind of in between. I think most people either really love it or just will do one contract and think, you know what, this actually isn't for me.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things that you don't really know until you're there.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a bubble, it's such a different environment and experience from anything else, really. I mean, what other career do you get to do that? Do you get to just travel all over the place and perform, but also wake up in a different country, also have all these days off that you're technically getting paid for, where you can just
Yeah.
go and explore.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
And
just
also,
it's
what other career do you, your best friends are your colleagues and you live with them, you live with your boss, and you can't go home from work at the end of the day and forget about, like, you literally, I think that was one of the biggest challenges for me, I guess. It's everything is the ship your whole life, and you almost forget that the outside world exists. I mean, there were moments where my mum would message me, oh well, she came to visit me and I told her about things that were like challenging me and things that had happened. She's like, well, why didn't you tell me all this was happening? And I was like, I forgot that there was like external support. I just got so caught up. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like that becomes your universe.
yeah, I agree with that actually. It becomes, I think it's easy to kind of, you almost compartmentalize your life into your life back home and your life on board, and they just feel so completely separate that I personally find it really easy to kind of lose touch with people back home, just because people don't feel like they're a part of your immediate life when you're away.
Mm.
Um, I know, was it 6 months that you were away for?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see, the musical contracts with Royal Caribbean most of the time or 10, 11, 12 months actually,
Oof.
which is madness. So obviously when like, I was away for almost double the time that you were even, when I was on my ship, and we just did the same 2 week itinerary, just round and round again for the entire time that we were away.
Oh
So
God.
it was basically just the same ports every week for that entire time. So it definitely did feel quite Groundhog Day-esque.
Mm.
So yeah, it does become easy to kind of fall into the this is life mindset, that you do kind of forget about the external forces, the outside world,
Yeah,
um,
you
but I
do.
guess, I mean, I'd imagine that's something that kind of you learn to balance a bit better whenever you do multiple ones.
Yeah.
Probably a big thing between guest entertainment and working in a cast on board as well. I think with as a guest entertainer, if you're doing headliner shows and you're going around lots of different ships all the time and traveling a lot more in between, um, and I think you kind of tend to get more time off in between times, so you can kind of break it up into time on, time off, whereas the rest of the time it's pretty much you're just time on all the time when you're
Yeah,
in
it's
in a
big
cast of a
chunks.
show. You're just there for the whole time. You're there for a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an adjustment, isn't it? Adjusting to that pace and that kind of constant up and down, the kind of off and on, the switch. Like, oh, I'm at work. Oh, I'm on holiday for a month. Like, I mean, not many other people get to have those big breaks in between jobs as well. Really,
Yeah.
it's just it's an interesting lifestyle.
Yeah, it is a really, and there's some drama, isn't there? There's some juicy stuff that happens.
There always is. Yeah.
A lot of it, I mean, on my ship, it was crazy. A lot of these people, like you said, their lives are separate to their lives at home, and you would find couples on board, and both of them are like completely exclusive on board, and they've been together for months, and they even Viking has this thing where you can link with your partner through the company. So the company strives to put you and your partner on the same ships and like keep your contracts together. People were linked, yet had wives and kids at home that had no clue that it's like double life. Yeah,
I know
literally
it's
double life.
bizarre, isn't it? It's you get on board and it's like a whole other world that you just don't realize goes on. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but before working on cruise ships, I never thought about these people working on ships in the middle of the sea. Like, it just never even crossed my mind, really.
Yeah, you don't think that they're out there, do you? You don't give them a second thought, but there's a whole city of people at sea, like living their lives. It's so
Loads of them all over the world.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, I remember like I'd see couples on board and be like, "Oh, they're so cute together. I love that. It's so lovely that they're so loyal. They stay together throughout contracts." And then someone would be like, "Yeah, but he has a wife." And your heart is like, "What?"
Yeah, the
Awful.
cute vision shattered.
Literally, yeah. Like, yeah, all crushed.
What happens on board stays on board, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yes.
yeah, that is kind of what it's like a lot of the time.
Wow.
Because how else people at home, like, they wouldn't know.
No.
there's, you know, and if there's people on there that their conscience can live with that, they do.
Mm.
They just do whatever they want. It's like they're not accountable
Oh
when
my
they're on
Yes.
sea.
A law unto their own.
Yeah,
Oh.
the ship laws and not the laws of normal life.
No, it's odd. It's definitely a weird environment.
For some though, not for all. Of course, there are people that are honest, like hardworking. Not everyone's cheating on their wives.
Oh
But,
God.
oh God, yeah. But it's such an interesting. What were the biggest surprises for you about going on a ship? Like about life on a ship?
Oh, I'll have to think about that one for a second.
Mm. I think mine was like just the nature of the way of that, of like how everyone just does whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that actually. I think that was probably the biggest. I think everything else kind of made sense, or was like, yeah, okay, it all kind of it made sense with where we were and the job that we were doing and stuff. But that was quite a big shock actually. Yeah. Also, I mean, there's quite a big element of danger, which I don't think in my day-to-day life I kind of ever really experienced before that necessarily. Like we obviously you have to do a lot of drills and stuff in the case of emergencies. I don't know if you ever had anything serious happen. Well, one thing actually was that we had a lot of alphas on board just all the time, which was for us was a medical emergency. So over the tannoy system, it would go alpha, 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 and that would mean
We had a lot
that
of them.
someone had a medical emergency somewhere on board. But that would happen all the time, every day, multiple times most of the time, and kind of it's in a strange way. I feel like you're reminded of your own mortality a lot more often than you are in day-to-day life on land.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, on my cruise, in the 6 months, there were 3 deaths. There was 3 people throughout the 6 months that passed, and you hear the alpha, and it can be quite haunting. Like you can be laying in your cabin and hear alpha, 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 and you're thinking, and it's so, our tannoy was so loud, you jump out your skin, like, oh. And
in the
for
middle
a
of the
minute,
night as well.
and we're trained to like know what the codes mean. So for some of them, you're like, am I needed? And you have to like figure out what it is that's happening. And, you know, do I need to go somewhere? Oh no, it's fine. It's not for me to deal with.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then you second guess yourself whenever the actual codes come through when they're real, because you think, wait, is this a drill? Like there's one time whenever I was doing Greece, where I was laid in bed at night and Bravo, Bravo, Bravo went off, which was the fire code. But basically it was 5 a.m. in the morning. So it went off and the initial reaction was, oh, it's a drill. Oh, I've got to get up for drill. Because it was a weekly thing that you'd have to get up and be like, wow, this is so annoying that we have to do this every single week. And that almost becomes your natural like knee-jerk reaction to that.
Yeah, like, oh, for God's sake,
that
now.
went off at 5 a.m., you're just like, oh, okay, here we go. And then you look at the clock and you're like, oh, it's 5 a.m. And there was actually a fire literally about 10 meters away from the cabin that we all had to get dressed and leave and run up to the open deck to get away from. That obviously, well, not obviously, but luckily that situation didn't end up being life-threatening, but it could have been. And in that way, again, you're kind of reminded that you're out in the middle of the ocean. things do happen and there's nowhere to go really if something did go. I mean, this has got a bit morbid really.
Well, I remember my cast used to joke and be like, because there's a part of me that's like likes a little bit of excitement, likes a bit of danger. When I did the STCW course, for people who don't know what that is, if anyone's listening and is thinking what, that's what a seafarer does before they go on a ship, and you learn anything to do with an emergency, how to put fires out, how to, you know, resuscitate, first aid, all of that. And I was loving it. I was like, yay, give me the hose, I'll go into the fire and then you're on the ship. And I remember I was joking to the cast and be like, I want something to happen, not anything life-threatening, but just something to spice up this, like I'm ready for a bit of danger. I want it to be rocky. I want to just experience what it's like. And then it happens and you're like, actually, no, I want it to stop now.
Take it back.
I want
just
plain
kidding.
sailing.
I had my fingers crossed behind my back.
Yeah, demean it. But yeah, I guess it's true. It's a really crazy experience. I feel like before I went on a ship, it wasn't, people didn't talk about it. I think some people did vlogs, and I remember looking on YouTube and watching people's vlogs to try and suss it out. But until you actually go there, it's another world. It's so crazy.
yeah, they just don't really. I mean, I can't remember what we actually talked about at the start of the podcast, but I just remember, like, I don't think that at drama school they really talked about it that much, or even in general, performers don't really talk about the cruise ship industry that much. And when so many do it, it's crazy to me that it's not talked about more. And when it has so many kind of benefits, even in terms of just life experience that
Oh yeah.
you wouldn't really get otherwise. I think that's the main thing that I took away from it, was life experience.
Yeah.
Because it's so different to normal life. I think you just end up being challenged in such ways that you just don't really see coming. And it's just it kind of, you have no choice but to kind of grow with it, to grow with the experience. Even just in terms of being, like, separated from people that you love, your loved ones and your friends. Like, it's not really a normal situation to be separated from everyone that you know and love for so long. But you just have to deal with it. You have to find ways to cope. You make new friends. You obviously keep in touch with people back home. But that's bound to kind of inspire growth in people in ways that you might not even realize.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, a big part of what it was all about for me was the traveling. And I guess if I wanted to travel anyway, if I wanted to save up money and see some parts of the world myself anyway, that it would still mean leaving people to then have to come back to them. So I guess that's always going to be a part of wanting to see more of the world, is having to be away.
Yeah, it's a big trade-off, isn't it? Whenever you do a job like this, is you do kind of sell your soul a little bit to to do that, to do the things you want to do. You have to make sacrifices, you have to make compromises, and obviously, but you know in yourself that it's not forever, but it's just something that you've got to do at that time. And at the end of the day, whenever you're old and you look back at your life, you want to say that you went for things and you did experiences that you maybe wouldn't have done, or that other people might not have done, don't you? You kind of want to feel like you've lived a little, like you've seen the world. And it's just quite a good way to do that, I think, while making money, really, and doing what you love. I mean, there aren't many things that you can really do that you can kind of combine all those things.
I agree. Yeah. I think if anyone's listening to this and you're, in drama school, or you're a budding performer, yeah, if you love to travel, give it a go, because there's so much growth that can be had through it. And it's so fun. So many weird, crazy things will happen that won't happen in real life. Like weird things. And meanwhile, Connor's going to be doing Bring It On. You're going to be bringing it on.
Doing backflips. No, I'm not the guy who does backflips.
That's very cool, though. And this is your first time touring, is it? Or have you toured?
It will be, yeah, which is very exciting. It's something that I wanted to do for a long time, and kind of in a similar way, I feel like that combines a lot of those different aspects. Like, I love traveling. I've always wanted to kind of see more of the UK, so it's kind of a good opportunity to do that while ticking off the UK tour from the list of things that I'd like to do. And we also have a 2-month run at the South Bank Centre in London, which I'm really excited about, because obviously it's a massive theatre just down by the West End. So it's kind of, it feels like that's going to be a really cool thing to be a part of.
And when is the 2-month run?
That's this Christmas. So it's
going
to be December and January.
I'll be back, so you can come and watch.
Yeah, you're going to have to come and see.
Yes.
I'll sing in your face.
Yeah.
I'll belt right in your face in the front row.
Brilliant. I'd love that.
No change there then.
Yeah, lucky me. Best day of my life. Oh, fab. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing some cruise ship and industry and all of that insight that you've shared with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And what we'll do is we'll link your Instagram. Or is your Instagram private?
Why not? Yeah, it is.
Well, Twitter?
Yeah.
Because that has your spotlight and stuff. Like, if any casting directors are listening, like, oh yeah. Well, I guess just for people to look you up and know who you are.
Ooh.
They hear your voice and they're like, I want more of him.
I'm right here, guys.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And
no, thank you so much for having me, and good luck with the ship. Second
Thank
time
you.
round, second time lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
older, wiser, ready to be better and do
Older, wiser,
basically.
got opera on the CV this time round.
Yeah, it's all
Ready to
happening. Yeah.
go.
Ready to go. And good luck with Bring It On as well.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you
luck.
very much. Yeah, looking forward to it a lot.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back in maybe a few weeks to a month or so with season 2.
Yep. That's it. Yeah.
All right, guys, take care, and we'll be back soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.